Okay, if you see me a little extra perked up today,
Yeah.
it's because I'm a girl's girl. And
Mm-hmm.
today we have another fellow female in sports, a prima,
Let's
and we'll get
go.
into that in a minute. Welcome in entrepreneur, social media maven, all things. She's a multi-hyphenate and happens to be the other part of the Warner household. Yes, as in Fred Warner. Welcome in Sydney Warner to
Yay,
Hi,
Sydney!
happy to
Atlanta.
be here. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are so excited to have you on because
So
I think
great
one of
having
the
you.
things that really popped up to us was how there's this new wave of like this next generation of NFL families. And one of the things that have really popped off on your social media has been your NFL secrets TikToks, right?
Yeah.
Throughout the
Yeah.
season. How did that come about? And how did you and Fred put it together? Because he kind of sprinkles in as well.
Yeah, so that happened really randomly last season, right after during like playoffs, and then a little bit after we were done with playoffs. I just organically was like, what do people want to know? Because you can do social media for so long and then you're just like, okay, like it kind of gets a little bit repetitive. Like, what do people want to know that I haven't already said 100 times? I can't, how many outfits do they want to see, you know? So
Right.
All of
I
them.
was like, what do people want to know? So then I started thinking about the things that Fred told me that I was really surprised about whenever I was learning all of this like NFL life and he was explaining things to me. And I was like, wow, you wouldn't think XYZ little facts that I said, you wouldn't think that that's true, but they are. And they're really surprising if you don't know them. So I was like, I'm going to tell people the things that shocked me. And in return, it shocked them as well.
What did he think about it when you first told him? Was he hesitant? Was he like, yeah, babe, of course, go for it, do
Oh,
your thing?
yeah, Fred lets me do whatever I want. Honestly, he's really
As he
great.
should.
Yeah, he is like really supportive with
Smart
whatever.
man.
Yeah, he is. He knows I'm really creative and I'm just like very off the wall and I just do what I want. I say what I want and then I'll apologize later if it makes somebody upset. But
Period.
he's always cautious. But in the end, he's like, do what you want. It's your business. It's your life. Just do what you want. It all being smart about it, of course. But
Right.
yeah, he's always on board with whatever I want to do.
Of course, we talk about Fred all the time here. You know that I've been covering him since he first got in the league as
I
like this
know.
young rookie, really popping off. And
Yeah.
we talk about him a lot, specifically on this podcast, because it's so important to us to really highlight the Latinos within the league, right? That
Mhm.
fan base is growing and that presence is growing within the league too. And so it didn't
Mhm.
slip by our minds that in preseason, you were repping not just hubby, but also La Cultura at a preseason
Yeah.
game, wearing
Yeah.
that shirt with Fred holding the Mexican flag. That's part of his heritage, as folks here on the podcast know, Mexican and Panamanian. Why was it important for you to highlight that during the preseason?
So I think we really, really dove into that side of our fan base during obviously the Mexico game last year. I was just so shocked to see how many just how big the community was in Mexico, obviously, that really were just like super intrigued with Fred. They were really intrigued. They loved the fact that he represented that part of his life. And it really is a huge, important part of his life because his whole family on his mother's side, they speak Spanish. And that's how Fred kind of grew up. So I like obviously with learning about him and then learning about how important that was to him, I think now we just choose to just represent that all the time. So not just for the Mexico game. So we got those amazing t-shirts were made and I was like, I've got to get like 6 of them for everybody. And I was like, we're going to wear these all the time. So I think it's important, not just, for that game, but just for always, because there's such a huge Latino fan base for the Niners.
Yeah.
So huge. And they're so loyal and they're such amazing people. And I think it's important always, not just for that one game.
Yeah.
What's the feedback that some of these fans have said to you and to Fred about embracing this side of him?
Oh my gosh, they love it. They love it. They just feel so just involved even more in the fan base. Of course, they're a fan of the Niners, but when it's somebody that plays that they love and that they represent daily, it also is a part of their community and represents that and is proud of that. Oh my gosh, love it. They absolutely love it. And we love that they love it because it makes us feel closer to them,
100%. Guys, when I first
Mhm.
met Sydney, it was at a 49ers Foundation event
Mhm.
earlier this year. And I ran over like this like proud big sis. I'm like, I was so
Yeah.
excited to meet her because I'd only seen their interactions via social media. But one of the things I was like, let me find out Me and Sydney might be cousins. And
I
that's the thing that
know.
Dominicans say all the time.
Talk to us about this.
Prima. Sydney, you told me that actually your father is Dominican, which
Mhm.
I was like, here we go. More of us out here. But you grew up in Alabama. So how was that? Because I think there's a huge part of our Latino community too, right? That are de aquí y de allá, where you have this like very American upbringing, but you have this connection to your culture. So what was like that for you growing up in the South?
So my parents they met in New York, and my mom was really, very involved in his life. His family loved her, and they really, really embraced that. And so whenever they came to Alabama, it wasn't as celebrated in Alabama, just because that is how it is there, and it's sad.
Very
it's
different.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it was really, really. It's funny how you brought that up. His family loves my mom, and they were open arms, everything. It's how the Dominican culture is. But in Alabama, not so much. People are a little bit standoffish, but all of that to say, my mom really enjoyed it. And then they had me. They were so excited because they wanted both. I didn't grow up learning the language like Fred did, unfortunately, because I wasn't in his household. They were more so in mine in Alabama. My mom didn't speak the language, which I hate that now. I wish that I did. But, it was cool to see just them kind of merge that and be really proud of me being, a little part of both. So
Well, we talk about the Latino cuisine as well. So how much was the cuisine that you had that was Southern and Dominican mixed together, if at all?
So there was none. It was all Southern. It was all Southern. Yeah.
Sid, as your now honorary older cousin, I am going to make sure that you guys get some plátanos. We're going to have some mango. I'm going to go to the bay. We're going to have a whole day. I got you, girl. Like,
no, please.
Nothing else. I just threw down in the kitchen Dominican style the other day.
I love that.
So you know what? We're going to, it's never too late, I say.
Never,
but no, it is interesting because I think that experience is more common than people think, right? I think if people like to put folks, especially Latinos, in a box. To your point, like, well, why didn't you grow up speaking Spanish? And why didn't you this? And none of that qualifies your Latinidad or your connection to their culture, and vice versa, right? Like that is, they're just the circumstances of growing up in the US and having these different dynamics on here. Now, you're doing a lot more to, you mentioned your business, right? That was something that I really liked. And that Fred is very attuned to that. Like, this is your business. I am sort of begrudgingly leaning into social media space, but it's not going anywhere, right? Like this is really a thriving business. And you're someone who is so tapped in, not just to the fan base on the NFL side, but also just on the lifestyle side. So how is it building a business through that side? Can you teach us, like, elder millennials, like how do we do this?
I don't know. It's not so much about being taught. It's just, I always say it's consistency. And sometimes I'll be on 100%. And then if you take that 3 days off, it drastically affects your business, truly. Of course, I think that's with anything. I mean, I talked about it with Fred all the time. And he's like, well, that's the same with his football. If he wasn't consistent throughout his whole entire adolescent, childhood, college, now even, he can't take 2 days off because then, there's a game day and those 2 days are going to affect you. Same with me. If I didn't post for 2 days, same thing affects my, statistics. It's all about numbers and engagement. So you just have to keep people interested, involved. You have to say things off the wall, like my TikToks of NFL secrets. It keeps people interested and keep them kind of like on their toes. Everybody wants to know everything about everybody's life. And I think it's cool for us to be able to, me at least, to be able to like let them in a little bit and let them see, because people are so intrigued about what goes on in Fred and I's life. And I love that they're, want to be involved. And so I just think consistency and being genuine, just being yourself and just being like honest with your followers. Because if it wasn't for your followers, you wouldn't really have it. So,
yeah. Well, you seem like you both have great personalities. We're meant to be together. Is there ever a point where you're about to post something and he says, babe, no, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, I think more so in the beginning, whenever we were just dating, because I was just like, blah, 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 like, let's just post everything. And he was like, like, it's gonna be a little bit different now that we're together. And like, I have this like it's a little bit different now. So I can't just, if I wasn't with Fred, I think I would be post more and just be more like off the wall. But now I have to respect his boundaries with his work, of course.
Yeah.
But
Hate those boundaries though, Sid. Hate them.
what are the boundaries? I know.
Here's
I know
the
they're not
thing.
many. There's really not many. I just, you know, I try to be courteous of his privacy as much as I can.
But athletes are notoriously like very guarded, and rightfully so. Like we understand that side. Not only are they guarded, but they're also like creatures of habit, right? So like this is what time I wake up, this is what time I have breakfast, this is what time I get treatment, and so on and so forth. So I think when you add in another layer of like, oh wait, now we got to shoot this TikTok. Wait, now what's the outfit? Where'd you get it, babe? So I can link it. Like it is a lot to digest and a lot to put in, but good on you guys for doing that. What was the thing as you were sort of going through this, because you mentioned like there were NFL secrets that shocked you from your POV? What was the biggest shock to you?
The biggest shock to me,
or the one that stands out, I guess, top of mind?
One of them was that they have to be, just training camp just ended, so I'll go with this one. They have to be away for those 2.5 to 3 weeks during training camp. Of course, they train here in San Jose, but they have to be locked down in a hotel room, like all together, bed checks, absolutely. Like, no, you have to be there on time. You can't, stay with your significant other. Like we have a house here. So we're like, oh, well, it'll be fine. We'll just stay. No, he has to be there no matter if you live here or not. I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, that's so different. But just part of the process.
Are there any secrets that you're sitting on right now that you will reveal at a later date?
Honestly, not right now. I think the secrets they come more so they come more so in the season.
So great.
Little tidbits, but I think right now we're starting fresh, we're starting clean, we're ready for the season. So right now, no. Right now we're good to go.
Well, one thing that's not a secret is that there is a new mechanism. Talk about leaning in. The Warner House. Talk to us about this new podcast that you guys are launching.
What's this about?
Excited about this.
Yeah. We are so excited for that. So we teamed up with the 33rd team to do a podcast, audio and video, once a week on any streaming app. You can do YouTube, you can do Spotify, Apple podcasts, just to kind of let people into our life a little bit more. Like I said, people want to know, people want to be involved. So we were like, this would be a fun opportunity to do something that we've never done. It's Fred and I every Monday. After the game, just talking about not only football and the game and what's going on with his side of things, but also my side of like, where did I sit? Did I like my seats? What's going on in the dynamic of the team? How am I feeling about things? How's our life and our house running during this time in the season? So we're going to do it this whole entire football season and see how it goes. And then maybe next year we'll do it again, depending on how it performs. But we're really excited. We shot the first one last week at the very end of preseason, and it was so much fun. So I think people are really going to like it. It's going to be fun.
Well, we can't wait. I think there's definitely an appetite for people to get an inside look into the inner workings of the NFL through the eyes of a couple.
Yeah.
And everything that's around it. Is one of those things where you both are very successful in what you do. Do you ever come together and just say, I don't want to talk about what we've done. Let's talk about something else. What is usually that something else that you guys talk about to kind of take your mind off? Or do you guys just binge shows?
Like dogs?
Dogs. I mean, like what is it? What's the thing that you guys talk about that's not your respective disciplines, if you will?
Right. When we're not talking about work on my end or his end, I think, yes, we're very consumed with our dogs right now. We're very scheduled people too. We like to do Pilates together. So whenever he has a day that we can do that, we'll do that. Just kind of getting our life. We're very scheduled. Me and Fred are very type A people. So if we're not talking about work, we're talking about schedule or spending time with the dogs, watching shows he loves right now. He's very into Hard Knocks.
Right.
That's really big right now.
Yep.
We're really into the Netflix, The Quarterback show that just came out. That was big. So we're finished with all that. So honestly, I'm very excited for this Saturday. Bama starts playing SEC.
There she is.
Yes.
So that's going to be really exciting.
Wait, how about BYU though? They've got a football team
Now hubby
too.
team, right?
We don't, honestly, Fred doesn't really follow college anymore. I always follow Bama and just kind of anyone in the SEC. So we don't watch BYU as religiously as we do Bama. So sorry.
I would imagine if you have someone who's a hardcore Bama fan in your household, that's going to overtake everything, right?
100%.
So
it doesn't even matter about the other team. It's so hardcore, and he embraces it, which I love. So yeah, we're excited about that.
I would say I have like the SoCal equivalent of that. My husband is all USC. He went to grad school there. So it's like all Trojans here. And like here in Los Angeles, you can't go anywhere without seeing the little SC thing. So I would imagine. So I get it, girl. There's like that's it.
There's nothing like college football. Love NFL.
It is.
But there's nothing like that feeling of college football.
It's a little different.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a little different. It's definitely a little different, and it's a little different because I'm an Arizona State guy. So right now, ouch. Ouch. So you guys are having this show now that you're doing. You had mentioned about not speaking Spanish growing up, and that you kind of lament that, and that Fred, he speaks Spanish. Is there any way where you will be able to do one episode, at least partly in Spanish? Do you think you'll ever get to that point?
Oh my gosh, that would be that's a goal for me to go towards, because right now there's no way I could do it. But that is a goal. I want to, whenever we have kids, I want them to know that part of their heritage from their dad. So I want Fred to obviously bring that to them and teach that to them. And I will also be willing to learn whatever he's teaching our kids. Okay. So, now I would say no, but in the future, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. We put it out there because I talk to my kids in Spanish, and what I find that's a little bit difficult is that they're surrounded by English speaking all the time.
Totally. Yeah.
So sometimes they are very amenable to speaking Spanish, and then other times I say to them, no, se dice esto. You know what I mean? Just so they get into it, because sometimes it's just easy to fall by the wayside. I said, you don't understand. This is going to help you out in life, not just to get an A in Spanish. This could be something that helps you get a job as well. That gives you an advantage on something.
That's an advantage in life. I always I'm almost feel embarrassed that I don't. Like it's almost like expected.
No.
And I wish that it was more so like more like expected, like this is a requirement that you have to have. But unfortunately, I didn't get it. But it's such a huge, huge, huge tool for life. Huge. So I'm hoping that our children will have that one day for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
No shame in not speaking Espanol. We talk about it here on the podcast all the time. But it is a good aspiration to have for sure. And we're very excited to see it. We'll send you guys like little phrases maybe to slip into the podcast once a week. We got you.
No bad words though, MJ. Don't send the bad words, okay?
Sydney, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit more. Can't wait for the Warner House.
Of course, thank you.
Just so you know, I have bought many, many of the things that you have linked on your profile. I get influenced
I love that.
And they work. They all work. The girl is true to her word. She doesn't steer us wrong. Sydney Warner, so excited to see what's next for you, Fred.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So fun. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.